This all started 3 weeks ago when I agreed to do an interview with CBS Sunday Morning and their special contributor, Ted Koppel. Now, the interview lasted well over 45 minutes, and we discussed in great detail why there's such a great divide in America, in politics, and in media. Now, in my honest opinion, the exchange was actually a very good substantive give and take, and worthwhile for any audience to see. However, out of the 45-minute sit-down, well, here is all that CBS Sunday Morning decided to air. Take a look. Honestly, I think liberalism has to be defeated. Socialism must be defeated in a political sense. This is not a, we don't want a revolution in this country.
What more do you want? You got the White House, you got the House, you got the Senate. Okay.
And then we have angry snowflakes, and then we've got a Democratic establishment. I say the press in this country is out to destroy this president. We have to give some credit to the American people that they're somewhat intelligent and that they know the difference between an opinion show and a news show.
Yeah.
You're cynical. Look at that. Yeah.
I am cynical because, you know.
You think we're bad for America? You think I'm bad for America?
Yeah.
You do?
In the long haul, I think you and all these opinion shows.
That's sad, Ted.
No, you know why?
That's sad.
Because you're very good at what you do, and because you have attracted a significantly more influential.
Well,
let me finish the sentence before you do that.
With all due respect.
You have attracted people who are determined that ideology is more important than facts.
Wow. It's kind of calling me a liar. And then he's saying, well, you and all these opinion shows, he's giving his opinion. Only 70 seconds. That's it. Ended up airing. Now, I guess people like Ted Koppel feel you, the American people, can't distinguish between opinion and news. That's kind of like Obama. Remember he said people clinging to their God, guns, and religion, or Hillary Clinton who said ignorant, irredeemable deplorables. Now, beyond this interview being a total waste of my time, it is a flagrant example of what I call edited fake news. Now, remember CBS News is the former home of Dan Rather. Remember, he was forced to resign after reporting an inflammatory fake news story about President George W. Bush. Rather used fake documents to bolster his story. Now, CBS News is also the former home of Cheryl Atkinson. Remember, she there was marginalized at CBS and stonewalled, and they wouldn't show a lot of her investigative journalism into President Obama as his administration. Is that agenda-driven? And now they produce a package taking shots at me, all while prominently displaying their dishonesty, their bias, and total hypocrisy here for every viewer to see. Now, Ted's interview with me, it wasn't about substance. It wasn't about getting my real opinion. Now, the story was written long before he walked into this studio here at Fox. I was just used as a prop to advance his narrative, which is why only 1 minute and 10 seconds out of the 45 to 50 minutes was actually used. In other words, it was 1 minute, and that's the 1 minute that fit into their narrative. That is edited fake news. By the way, other networks, they play the same game, and they have for many years. And now it's time to expose this for what it really is, and I have the ability to fight back. Cheap shot attacks in the name of, quote, journalism, all to advance their biased agenda. Now, what Ted was really asking is this: are opinion shows bad for America? He thinks they are. Meanwhile, Ted was giving his opinion. He considers himself an impartial journalist, yet in what CBS News was airing, he's doing exactly what he said is bad for America. Now, right here on this show, on Hannity, I express my opinion because I am a talk show host, an advocacy journalist, if you will. Ted Koppel, he thinks he's down the middle, fair and balanced, a real journalist. Ted, you show in this clip you are not a journalist. You're very hypocritical here. Now, have you ever said, for example, you work for CBS, Dan Rather worked for CBS? Ted, did you ever say that George W. Bush, the attack by Dan Rather, was bad for America? Did you ever say CBS, when they spiked Cheryl Atkinson's story, that that's bad for America? Did you ever wonder if the stories were spiked because the head of CBS News and that division, David Rhodes, happens to be the brother of Ben Rhodes, the high-ranking official for then-President Obama? Is that a conflict of interest? Now, I'm willing to look at my body of work and compare it with CBS News any day of the week. Did CBS News even one time ever ask President Obama about his relationship with an unrepentant terrorist where he started his political career? Well, I did CBS's job. I did it for you, Ted. Did you ever delve deep into what black liberation theology is and how it motivated President Obama, then candidate Obama, for over 20 years? The Church of Reverend Wright, the Church of GD America, the Church of America's Chickens Have Come Home to Roost. Now, after 8 years of Obama, did CBS ever show the numbers on the screen there about what a failure the Obama presidency was? Now, you know what? I put those up on the screen on a regular basis. And by the way, Ted, I did mention this to you in the interview. All of these facts were given to you, but you edited it all out. Did CBS ever put up all the laws that Hillary Clinton likely violated with her email server scandal so she could avoid congressional oversight? Did CBS ever expose all the Benghazi lies of Hillary Clinton? We did on this program. Did CBS ever cover in great detail how members of the media colluded with the Clinton campaign in this election cycle? We did here. How much time did CBS devote to this phony Russian conspiracy story, even though after 8 months there isn't a shred of evidence? Now, that's the difference, Ted, between me and you. I'm honest with my audience. I don't pretend that I'm fair and balanced and objective. You do. And if you really cared about truth in journalism, how can you work for a network that only tells one side of the story? You know, how can I be bad for America when I'm offering the American people news and information nightly that your own network will not touch because they have an agenda? Now, Ted, I happen to be very proud of the work I do both on radio and TV. I'm proud of the teams that we have built here that work really hard every day to bring this audience news and information that, well, frankly, the rest of the media ignores. So I hope you enjoyed your press coverage this weekend and covering how bad I am for America, while editing out 99% of what I said. But what you really did is prove my point, that I'm right. You exposed yourself as agenda-driven, opinionated, hypocritical, and you proved my point I've been saying since 2007 and 8. Journalism is dead in America, and we have an information crisis in this country. Now, Ted, if you and CBS News have the courage, release the entire unedited footage of the interview. Let America decide. Let America see the 99% that you didn't want to air. Joining us now with reaction, Michelle Malkin investigates on CRTV. Michelle Malkin. I'll tell you why they're not going to release the tape, Michelle. Because, so, Ted asked the first question. I give the answer, and he goes, none of that is going to air. That's what he says. I said, well, why am I sitting here?
Is that your Ted Koppel imitation? It's good.
And then throughout the rest of the interview, I'm like provoking him. Ted, you really need to include this part. You know, I'm like, are you going to cut this out, Ted? Are you going to cut this out, Ted? Are you going to cut this out? Who does an interview and says, that's not airing? We're not going to air any of that. Well, then why am I here? So that's why they don't want people to see this fake. What these networks do in edit rooms, they've gotten away with for years. That's my point. I want to get yours.
Yes, and I have to raise a toast to you, big brother, for exposing these walking dead liberal media decrepit elitists. I think it was definitely worth your time to do this interview because although they played just one little sliver, look at what you've been able to expose. And I think that has them running scared. I would love to see the Twitter hashtag release the Hannity tape. Put some more pressure on these people. And I know you've got a huge Twitter army out there, and I do as well. This is a very teachable moment in liberal media history because you have this ancient gatekeeper, Ted Koppel, telling you, wagging your finger, that you, Sean Hannity, are bad for America, while he, Ted Koppel, and all of his Fourth Estate colleagues are the ones who can only be entrusted with delivering the proper amount of news and opinion to America. We're the ones who support diversity, true diversity in the media marketplace. These people are the enemies of diversity of thought. These people are the enemies of true transparency and a vibrant marketplace in the media. Shame on that.
Because they had a monopoly all these years. And by the way, this is not personal between Ted Koppel. I actually did it because I loved when he was covering on Nightline America Held Hostage for 444 days. I don't think I missed an episode because I thought it was really imperative, important work. And then when those hostages were released, it was such a good moment for our country. And so it's not personal. The thing is, there's a level of sanctimony here that it reminds me of Obama clinging to God, guns, religion. It reminds me of irredeemable deplorables, that the American people are not smart enough to ascertain what is opinion and what is news. I don't think most Americans doubt that I am a conservative. I think I make it clear on a nightly basis. Is there any shock there?
Of course not. The other thing, of course, that you've done, though, is expose the double standards, because here you are asking them to release the full interview so that people can judge the totality of the interview and the substance of what you said. These are the same media types who, if conservative, investigative, independent journalists use their tactics, use their techniques that they are supposedly time-honored and entrusted to be able to use in telling a story. For example, editing an interview, they hate it. We want you, the conservative journalists, like James O'Keefe, for example. They are always demanding that he release every last second of what he's done because he can't be trusted. But they can. Come on, look at the whole entire history of liberal media ideology being more important than facts. To borrow Ted Koppel's phrase, you already mentioned Dan Rather and Rathergate, manufactured documents in pursuit of an ideological agenda, bringing George W. Bush down. The entire Trump campaign
I want to hear him say
liberal media
Dan Rather's
lies.
bad for America. You ever gonna,
Yeah, that's
you think
right.
those words ever come flying out of his mouth? I doubt it. All right, thank you.